Okay, this is a 2014 Chevy Silverado LTZ. Silverado, not Auto. Silverado, 2014. Been having an issue just recently during this quarantine, and I figured now's the best time than ever if I want to try to save some money instead of taking it to the shop. Did a lot of research. My AC was blowing cold on the passenger side, but blowing hot on the driver's side. So I'm not an expert at vehicles, but I know how to use a wrench and I know how to take things apart. So I thought I'd give it a shot. And I couldn't find a really good video on how to take things apart, and so I'm going to try to give as much detail as I can on fixing the blend door actuator, which is what I think the problem is. I'm not even 100% sure, but I think that's what the issue is. But this is the state of my truck right now. As you can tell, I've been sort of into it for a while. First thing that I should have done was disconnect the negative from the truck battery. So I went ahead and did that. Once I started to mess with the airbag and unplugging the airbag, I thought, holy crap, I better unplug that, and I don't want that thing going off and knocking me out or taking my head off. So unplugged the negative on the battery. And then I got these really cool instructions after searching the web over and over again. They were helpful, but they weren't too terribly helpful. It kind of told you there were screws, but didn't say exactly which ones. But essentially, this looks like a big job, and every person I talked to at AutoZone and O'Reilly, they were like, "Oh, that's a big job," and I'm like, "Well, why is it big?" "Well, you got to take your dash off." Okay, well, that's fine. Let's get into it. So ended up using a few different wrenches. Basically everything that was needed was a 7mm ratchet. So it's taken me a little while to get to this far, but I thought that I would try to have some sort of video because I haven't seen anything on the web on how to do it step by step, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, but I'll at least be able to share some tips and pointers that I found. Okay, so just to even get to the blend door actuator to fix the problem, you had to take off the dash. I found a shortcut of a guy that told me or showed me on the YouTube video that you can take the glove box off and remove the HMI module, and then you could reach your arm around there to get to it. The actual module was easy to remove, but there was no way that I'd be able to get my hands in there to turn a wrench or to unplug the power. So I thought, what the hell, might as well just take the dash off. But the blend door actuator is actually up inside here, and I'm gonna show you 1 second. Blend door actuator. So this is where the glove box would be. It's all the way down and up, and it's right about in there. I've already removed mine, but it would sit right there where that white piece is. It would sit on top of that. And that piece on my truck looks like this. So if you want to pause and have a look at it, but on this Silverado, this is the piece. Anyways, I couldn't get my hand all the way in there, so I took the dash apart, and it hides in there. Some people would take the steering wheel off and take it all apart so you can take the dash completely off, but I was able to get mine out without taking all that apart. And the way I was able to do it was I have a fancy little toolkit here. It's got an extension. I don't know if you can see that. It's got an extension on it, and it took I believe it was a T15. It's a T15 screw to get it out. And this thing's flexible, so it'll bend. Anyhow, I was able to get it out and unplug it. Some of the plugs, the power plugs on the devices inside the vehicle are kind of tricky. But I would suggest take your time. There's always a release button somewhere, and I really wasn't able to get any of them off without having a flathead screwdriver handy. Taking the airbag off, that was pretty tricky. You'll notice it's not on this piece. It's on the piece inside the vehicle. I don't know if you can see the other yellow attachment. Let's see if I can find it. It's right there on that one. There's a little red piece that you flip that knob back and then it will release. But there were quite a few little things like that. And I'll also note, yes, you will have to take a few bolts off, and I believe you do have to release the airbag, and the airbag plugs in right here. Let me back it up. You will not be able to take this dash off without taking off 2 bolts for the airbag. Don't do what I did. I tried to get it to release from here. As you can see, I didn't need to do that. All I needed to do was unscrew right here. Once I did that, the dash came right off. I feel like I fooled with this thing for hours, but again, had no real direction on how to do it. Just kind of took my time, labeled the bags. Every time I pulled screws out, I would label bags. I don't even know this. I'm not a mechanic, but this is kind of how I did it. I labeled this one radio and took all the screws out. I would show a different side of the vehicle of where I was able to take everything apart. I'll actually share the PDF that I used because it did have a few diagrams that are helpful. One thing I'll note is this little knob right here connects here. If you don't pull this off, it's not going to come off and you're going to bang your head against the wall like I did for a couple hours. I was able to get it off, as you can see, but this is just another angle of the dash coming off. Yeah, and I could take it all the way off, but I don't really want to take the steering wheel off if I'm honest. Yeah, obviously you'll have to take all these things. These are all really simple to take off. It's just kind of plug and play. Most everything would just pull right off with these clips and you just clip it back on when you're done. Mainly the only really it was only really 7mm screws that went in here, so yeah, lots of screws. The radio was pretty easy to take out, very easy. I would recommend YouTubing or Googling how to take off the radio. It's pretty simple. I will note, to get the front dash part off, the very front that covers the tweeters and that covers the vent up here, to get that off, I had to take these bars off. They were really simple to take off, super simple. Yeah, super simple. This clip is what held this one on, and there were 2 bolts on that side to pull that one off with the arm. Super simple. But I could not get the front part off without doing that. Okay, so for the blend door, this is actually what it looks like without it on there. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to do this with an iPhone light, but I'm going to do my best. This is where it's supposed to replace. I don't know if you can see that. That is where the blend door will go, on top of there. Here fits right on top of, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try to move this wire out of the way so that you can. Actually, I don't think I can. Yeah, right behind the power supply. You should be able to see, but that's exactly where it's supposed to fit, right over top of that. Once that goes in, it should line up right on the screws for when I reinstall it. Okay, a little bit of an update. The driver's side actuator is the actual actuator that was replaced. Wanted to make perfectly clear, it did fix my issue with the air blowing hot on the driver's side and blowing cold on the passenger side. So everything's blowing super cold. One thing I'll add is that whenever you get back in your vehicle and you go to restart it, if you've had the battery, the negative taken off the battery, that you'll notice that the temperature up there on the top left is not going to read correctly because all of the sensors are resetting themselves. And one of the things that I read after looking into this was that you need to make sure that you have the AC blowing all the way hot, or sorry, all the way cold when you restart the truck, and then you have to go on a drive for 20 minutes over 20 miles per hour to get all the sensors to reset. Once I did that, everything started working properly. And just to make clear, this is a video. I don't know why that's blinking like that, but it's not blinking to my eyes. But the video is to replace the blend door actuator for the driver's side. The driver's side has been confirmed to me by the dealership that it is the one that it's in the top middle part of the dash, which is what this video shows. And the passenger side actuator is underneath this sort of ashtray looking thing. So driver's side is going to be back in here. Passenger side is going to be up underneath there. Thanks for watching.